And we are recording. Welcome everybody to Aligning with Success. Let's see, it is the 9th of November. What an exciting time we're living in. I have a special guest tonight. As you all know, my sponsor, Ben Woodward, who is on the line tonight. And we thought, you know, he and I have both had two rather interesting victories recently, him a little bit more so than me, with respect to who are we showing up as to the world outside of Nikken. And, you know, obviously you guys know us well, and you know us from the calls and the work that we do and so forth. You know us very, very well. And we kind of become wallpaper. You know, we're just there. Yeah, you know we're here. You know you have us. But to be frank, when's the last time any of you used me on an ABC call? I can look at one person on this line that I know has done it. But think about it. So we wanted to really address this and recognize that we're not utilizing our assets as well as we could and as well as we should. So by the way, here's my little pat on the back.
Awesome.
If you haven't got this one, the 4-year career, it is the most recent edition from Richard Brooke. It's cool. In this particular edition, I'm on page 108, my story in the back, which features not only my story, but Nikken, right? So here we have a company, a plug for Nikken. I don't know if any of you made the call that I was on where he spoke about the launch, the book call, and he had me up toward the end of the roster, and he really pegged me as a significant person in the network marketing industry. And there were people out there were people on that line that had downlines of over 1 million people in their downline. And they were private texting me and public texting while this thing was going on. And I was humbled. I mean, that's why I started my message with, wow, I'm really humbled with the people on this call, because these are really major assets in the network marketing world. And I'm counted among them. So to me, I just feel humble about that. But that's not what tonight is about. It's not about humility. Tonight is about flipping that and making it work for us. And now Ben, you can see his book behind him, he is now Ben, why don't you tell him all the stuff that you're being recognized for, because it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, no, it's been a remarkable journey. And as Mike said, you know, the heart of my book really is a humans being more message as well, you know, and it's all about getting into the nitty gritty of how we take that personal journey of conquering the most difficult parts of our lives and being transformed by it, not surviving. You know, I mentioned on one of the calls that I was on recently, just how many people in 2020 are struggling because they've been in survival mode. And human nature isn't to survive, it's to prosper. There is a marked difference. And if we get into survival mode, then we're not going to be aligned with what our instincts tell us, which is to prosper. And so, yeah, the message of the book gets to the very heart of the cause of our global wellness community, which is to help people to get into the nitty-gritty of what really causes them pain, face it head on, and come out the other side prospering, not surviving, but prospering. And at the end of the book, of course, in the acknowledgements, you know, there is a big shout out there to Nikken and my Nikken family and team as well. So it's there in the print of the book too. But yeah, this book has been a remarkable journey, and it's taught me something. It's taught me a lot over these last few months. It's been great again to become a best-selling author. That was a wonderful surprise. I was hoping for that, of course, but to see that in 3 categories, not just in one, but in 3 categories as a best-selling author. And then the Entrepreneur magazine, which is, I think, it's a globally recognized publication, recognized my book as one of the top self-empowerment books of 2020. You know, that's a huge acknowledgement, which I was driving somewhere in the car with my wife when my publisher phoned me to tell me that news, and to direct me to the article where it was out there online. And I could not stop talking about that with her for the rest of the day. I was just I was like a little kid. I
always wanted to say that. My publisher called me.
Yeah. It was just such an awesome experience. But since then, what's been interesting is the knock-on effect that comes with being recognized in the way that Mike was talking about. Last week, or a couple of weeks ago, Chicago Booth Business School, the number 5 rated top business school in America. America being, one of the strongest countries on the planet. They've reached out. They wanted to interview and talk about the book and discuss the role of adversity and prospering through adversity in the context of career development and career crisis, and how people are struggling in 2020. And they reached out to me as an expert on that subject. And I've had a host of different other people from different places. I had a really interesting week on that week because I had 3 podcasts. One with Chicago Booth Business School, again, adversity turning into prosperity and empowerment. And then another one with mental illness and addiction and how to grapple with that and to turn that into strength and to be strong. And that, at the most brutal form of self-development, is the roughest, most difficult journey I think anyone would go through, in my observation. And then at the end of the week, another podcast around business ownership and entrepreneurship and how to turn adversity into opportunity there, the role that it plays in developing as leaders and so on. And I've got a speaking agent now, as a consequence of the book outcomes, people saying we would like to represent you and get you speaking assignments. And I've got an agent now that which is nice because I don't do any of the heavy lifting. I don't have to go online and do a ton of self-promotion and try to monetize all sorts of this and that in courses and spend all of my time invested in creating all sorts of different things. I can stay focused on Nikken. She does all the heavy lifting with her network. But she said, I reached out to my network to see who would be interested in having you speak at one of their events. She speaks with event managers and event planners and all that from all sorts of different industries and associations and governing bodies and companies and you name it. It's got a big list. And she said, we had 237 responses come back saying they were interested. And she said, not only was that a big number, but she said the variety of industries that expressed interest in hearing from you on this subject. She said, we've never had so much diversity. She said, I guess your subject just resonates with a lot of people. A lot of people are struggling and they want to do better. And I've been just so emboldened by this because I've had people reach out through my website that I worked with over 15 years ago when I was newly married, right? Probably closer to 18 years ago, reach out from all that time ago because they saw a newspaper article in the UK talking about the book and about me as a local piece in my local neighborhood from back home. Reach out and say, I just heard your story. Didn't realize you struggled in this way and that you've overcome this, that, and the other. And that has really inspired me. I'm really struggling right now. And this story helps me on my journey. And just the empowerment that comes from that in realizing we've all got a story to tell, but critically, just how relevant the story is for others. And so I just got thinking because what I've found is every time I get interviewed on a podcast, every time I get connected with a new professional from a new industry or a new, place in the world, we have a call, we have a conversation, I do a presentation, I give a speech or what have you, or I get interviewed and they say, I know someone that you've got to meet. Let me make an introduction, right? And as a consequence, I'm on a podcast with some, award-winning entrepreneur in Australia, right? Who's, interviewing me now and he's just launching a book and, hey, Ben, maybe we can do something together here. And, let me introduce you to someone that I know. And, and it's just remarkable. I think I mentioned the story a while back. I got invited to participate in an online event, and I misread the significance of it. I thought, well, I went to their website as a designer. I judged the website and said, yeah, that's really a shoddy looking website. They can't be that professional, right? I made a judgment because, you know, aesthetics are my thing when it comes to design. And boy, are they professional. And the guy that was speaking before me was the author of Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. And I was like, I'm sharing a stage with this guy, right? And it was just incredible. And people that had worked with, you know, the science of getting, you know, people into space. And it was just insane. But it got me thinking when Mike got recognized by Richard Brooke in that industry standard book, I would say, of the 4-year career. Yeah. And I just thought, you know, what an accolade that was for Mike. You know, we know, and I hope he doesn't mind me saying this, and I know this is being recorded. I'm not trying to make an earnings claim. Mike's earnings are not the average earnings for most networkers. So there's my parenthetical caveat to what I'm about to say. But his earnings have been ridiculous, if I can use that language, in a healthy and wonderful way. It's been significant. In the course of his career, he's made tens of millions. There aren't many people in our industry that have done that. Not only that, there aren't many people in our industry that have done it with a single company. Yeah. Yeah? That's the thing. Yeah. He's done it with a single company. He came to Nikken, he built his business, he stayed here, and he's built a legacy. That's huge. There's not many people that have got that credential. Yeah. They've been in the business for 30 years, but they've been in half a dozen different companies. They've made their fortune in a number of different places. Mike's been here for 28 years, Mike?
Coming on 29, yeah.
Coming on 29. 29, one company. And he's not just one of the top earners in the business, he's one of the top earners in our industry with that. That's huge. And again, I'm not saying this, you know, this is why I believe that Mike was recognized by Richard Brooke and pulled into that book, because this is something really unique, very different. And he is being recognized by people, high level, high performing people outside of Nikken, as someone that has got something to say that is valuable. Yeah. And I just think it's, you know, what is it, if you don't mind me kind of saying this, you know, a prophet isn't always accepted in his own town, you know, but sometimes, as he said, you know, familiarity can lead to misuse. And we just wanted to get together. We just thought, hey, we've got some good stuff going on here. This is great. It all feeds Nikken. It all feeds Nikken, you know, because what I found is, now that I've got this title of best-selling author, there are countless people that want to talk to me. Yeah. It's a credibility piece that people really kind of like. And so my recommendation is that, use that to your advantage. I'm a business partner. Yeah. So that means you can reach out to other people on your list and say, I have a business partner who is a best-selling author. Yeah. And he is sought after as a keynote speaker, and he does this and he does that, and he's featured on this podcast and that podcast, and you can share them. I'll start sharing some of these links in the WhatsApp groups so that we can have them to hand. But you can use these as tools and say, you know, he's being featured on this podcast or on this video. He's being interviewed here and there, and he's got this book, but he's my business partner. And that gives credibility to your message. Yeah. And that's what we want to do. Because we do live in an environment where people want that third-party validation. And what we're saying here is, utilize the likes of Mike's credibility, my credibility, to lift that burden as we reach out and speak, and utilize us as presenters, as ABCs, maybe even do, because I've had this with the Latin team plenty, and I'm sure Mike does too, where they'll reach out and they'll say, can we put on a special meeting with you and with our team? Yeah. And we'll promote it. We'll get you on as a guest speaker, and this will be fantastic. And they rally their team around.
Including Thursday night for a better way. So we have Ben coming on Thursday night.
That's right. Yeah.
Yes. Highlighting the difference. And if I could just interrupt, legacy company is what I heard Bliss Brooks say, and you were the legacy, and the both of you, Mike, I thought your comments were so different than all those other people because you talked about human personal development. And then with your personal story, Ben, to me, I always felt in so many times at the earlier HBMs, I know we're not to talk about the past, but that walk down memory lane is what really was so emotional for so many people. And that's what you did. You walked down memory lane. So with the both of you, it's about the personal development. That is what's different. And 2020, no surprise for 2020 the year 20, with everything that's happened in the world with the both of you. So to me, those are the two.
It's just been interesting, you know, there's so many people that are struggling right now. Yeah. I've got a friend that's a psychiatrist, and she said to me, you know, they are overwhelmed this year. 2020 has changed the dynamic of their industry because people, and she said, and it's with first time patients wanting to get on the books because they were struggling before. Maybe going out to work was giving them some distraction, some help. They lose their job. They're furloughed. They're now stuck at home. They can't get out. They don't have the interaction. And emotionally, they just are starting to crumble. She said, same with therapists, all overwhelmed. And she said, and people that are losing their jobs, that are existing patients, that suddenly lose their medical insurance that quick, and they're panicking. What do they do? And it just highlights the reality, because that's an industry perspective that she was giving. People are struggling. People are suffering and finding life really hard. And our course is about humans being more, championing the chance to face what hurts and what is hard and prosper as a result. Come out the other side, the champion. Yeah, I believe that our business opportunity that we have, the business that we are engaged in, is the facilitator of that, because it creates some pain points. It is hard. It is challenging. It's not a get-rich-quick scheme. You go out there and you add the people to your list. That's the easy part. Go out and contact them. That's the tough bit. You do the follow-up. That's even harder. Do the presentations and have all of that interaction in between. It's a whole different journey, isn't it? And then we get them on the path. And then, boy, it's another journey getting them beyond the starting mark. Yeah, it's a ride. It takes us out of our comfort zone. It forces us to challenge, what do I really want? How badly do I really want it? I was asked in a podcast, it was actually with the Chicago Booth interview, how do I know when challenges to my goals are not taking me away from them, but are leading me to achieve them? Because I can respond two ways. If I get challenged by them, if I'm experiencing opposition to my goal, I have the chance of facing that opposition and striving to conquer it, or I have the chance of redefining my goal and going in a different way. Yeah. How do I know what role that opposition is playing to my goals? I think that's a genius question, isn't it? Is it there to challenge me and make me stronger? Or does it cause me to evaluate and take a different path? Well, that's a personal answer, of course, depending on the goal and the challenge that you're facing. But the critical thing is, we will get asked those questions in our Nikken experience time and time and time again. Yeah. And the wonder of it all is it gives us the chance to really reflect, internalize, significantly, what do I value most? What matters to me most? What am I striving to become really? How badly do I want it? You got to want the consequences of what you want. How much do I want all of this stuff? What price am I willing to pay? What am I not willing to do? And it makes you ask some tough questions. And it's only through experience that we get the answers. And that's where wisdom is born. And as a result, that's where we become more. It's the wisdom that comes through the experience of facing the tough questions and doing the right thing.
I want to add to that, and that is that I think because we're in the business of sharing each other's stories and leveraging each other's stories, you're never alone. So unlike the circumstances for most people who are going through what they're going through this year or any other time, they're usually on their own. It's usually, if it's going to happen, it's because, they're the sole focus of everything. Here you have partners, you have collaboration. And so you're never alone unless you choose to be, and that's never effective. It's the actual most ineffective way of doing the business. And so one of the things that we wanted to say here is that, you have the ability to leverage us in an ABC call or inviting us to a group call for your team and whatnot. And while we do make ourselves available through these calls universally, but the call Ben does, the call I do, the calls that we do every month and so forth, doing those ABC calls and doing those special team calls or group calls that you want to do, or you want to facilitate an opportunity for people to meet somebody who's recognized outside of our little community, leverage us. The biggest bang for our buck always is not when we're talking with you. It's when we're talking with your guest, with your prospect. That's always the best use of time. And most of you have had, I'm sure, at least one call with either one of us, or you've all experienced an ABC call. And that is the best calls, because you just get to sit back and you let the expert step in and do their job. And that usually leaves an impression. And if you've been gun shy about leveraging us because you've reasoned in your mind, oh, they're far too busy, they're too important, or whatever it is that you got going on in your head, the most important use of my time in Nikken is not this call. It's the ABC calls in between. That is the single greatest use of my time where this business, this enterprise is concerned, where my purpose is concerned. My purpose is Nikken's purpose. It's to expand our community.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I would add to that as well is, we can be creative. One of the things, I've been chatting to some of our top retailers recently and have loved some of the dialogue that I've been having with them. And some of the things that they've stressed is, as they are building the relationship, this is something that has been consistent across the board, is, whether it's online or offline, as to how they found their customers, offline activity always plays a part in nurturing the relationship. Phone calls, building rapport, building relationships, staying in touch, making sure they know how they're doing, remembering special occasions, whatever it might be. They're on that stuff. Yeah. And critically, as an essential part of that function is that we don't always keep all of that conversation exclusively about Nikken. If it's always just about Nikken, then it brings into question the sincerity of the relationship. Yeah, it needs to be more than that. Yeah, because we're interested in their well-being, in them. Yeah. So from that perspective, yes, as Mike said, we have the Monday night call, we have the Tuesday morning call, the monthly calls, and all the other calls in between where we can participate. But we can get creative as well in how you might choose to use Mike or I. You can use us for ABCs, but you could perhaps, as an example, get half a dozen people together, maybe a few more, and say, we'd like to have a special webinar with me and my prospects, or me and a group of my friends, where Ben, you talk about some of the principles in the book, and we're going to have a special call with an author of a book. Yeah. And what's the value of that? How does that help your business? Well, it brings some people in your contact list together, which is nice. Yeah. And, but afterwards you get to say to them one-on-one, oh, how do I know this guy? Well, he's a business partner of mine. That's it. That's all you need to do. Yeah. And that's one of your contacts. Yeah. You organize the meeting and I'll do the talking. And like I said, it doesn't even have to be about Nikken. The principles are there. What we're sharing there is some common values, a common theme, a message that they relate to. We give them an emotional connection. They feel good for it. And there is credibility built through association that just helps us go, that was really nice. I liked that. It can be 30 minutes. It can be 45. It can be an hour, however long. We can do Q&A and all that kind of stuff. The Q&A sessions often seem to be really insightful. But things like that can be real fun. And like I said, the value to your business is afterwards you say, yeah, this person's my business partner. We do things like this on a regular basis, or we do a lot of work together. And you know, we had lunch together in Italy on a trip that we both won for a business we're involved in, or whatever it might be. Yeah, you can utilize those stories and make the most of it. But I think there's opportunity to be seized, because I see so many people outside of Nikken right now trying to seize those opportunities with me. And I go, oh, wait a second. I'd rather these guys in Nikken be doing it more. Yeah. So let's crack on with that and make the most of it. And to that point, I'm excited about Thursday. Like Madeline said, we've got the Better Way presentation, and they've invited me to be on to give a different perspective and a different approach to it, for the sake of variety and change to the message, but also as a different speaker. And this gives us a chance to, again, invite some different people and have a different experience. Yoko, I need to follow up with you. You reached out just recently about getting together, and I'm more than happy to come up. We don't live too far apart, but let's put a date in the diary for that to happen. Because Yoko mentioned, we had a chat a little while ago. She said, I've got some people that would love a copy of your book. Could we get together, have lunch, and maybe have a book signing? Yeah. And I thought, what a great idea. What a great idea. Yeah. And so, yeah, we can do that. We can do that kind of stuff. So
what time is the call, A Better Way, for everybody's?
It's 8 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific. And okay. The same channel as this.
Same channel as this, 8 p.m.
And actually, the earlier one with Barb Bartucci, she's been doing, bringing in an author. And so she brought Ben in a couple weeks ago, and I tuned in to listen to that. And then she turned off the recording at the time for the question and answer. Well, everybody wondered what was in the question and answer. So that's when the discussion went over to, well, let's do this again. So when they picked the date for doing it again, I said, how about let's do this in the morning and let's do then come on to the Better Way at night, so that we can advertise the two together. So that's how the promotion is going out. Michelle's done a nice job of getting it out onto Facebook and social media and all the different WhatsApps. We have all these WhatsApp.
Yeah.
So what's important is not just for our same mugshots to be there, but for us to each bring somebody.
Yeah.
Do we have any questions from anybody? Okay, well, I guess if something comes up, you can jump in. So just as sort of an overall recap, since we're at our 30-minute mark, we usually go 45, but 30 is fine.
Sandra Thornton has a question.
Sandra, go ahead.
It's not really a question, it's a comment. And I'm just, Ben, I can't congratulate you enough. I can't say how wonderful it is that you would travel this distance, knowing how initially you felt shy about revealing your true self. And I was already treasuring our private conversations in Italy. And then when we came back to the diamond training, I just think it's phenomenal. And it's a lesson for each of us that no matter what crap you're going through, it's up to us to make it worthwhile. I'm not going to suffer and then not get something out of it. And so what you have shown us is it's not just possible, but it's so doable if we won't quit. And if we will move forward, it makes all the difference in the world. And Nikken is just an excellent excellent tool for it, and the quality of the people we meet. I'm sitting here grinning at Paula, who I will just forever be grateful for. She took us to the Canadian home in Toronto after that big meeting. And I've told her story about the air system, and it's because people step out. They don't let things stop them. And so I'm just grateful to you, Ben, and Paula. Again, I say to you, thank you, my sister, thank you. But Ben, because you allowed yourself to be transparent and not let the hard places stop you, this is what we have. And I'm just
I want to mention, thank you for that, because I want to add to that. I think that the idea that this group of people are so transparent, when you put them on an ABC call, you can only imagine what somebody's thinking. Oh, who are they going to line me up with? The closer, right? And then when they get us, they don't get at all that. And that's what's so important about those ABC calls. They don't get what they're thinking they're going to get, and they're pleasantly surprised with what they get. So it really bolsters the credibility of what we're doing. So yeah, if you haven't read Ben's book, by the way, I'm sure you all have, but if you haven't, you ought to. And if you haven't read this book, The 4-Year Career, again, another, you ought to. This is an industry book. And I've made a point now, I made an announcement to my Canadian group that I'm going to be sending one of these to every new executive on the group in Canada. So they'll be getting one in the mail, whoever they are. Yeah. And I think that's part of the process of moving them and keeping them moving forward in terms of their alignment and understanding of what is it that we really do, who are we, and they start to appreciate the context. It creates context for the validity of what we're doing and the reaching effects of it. So
just to add to that, Mike, we need lots of contacts in the process of building and nurturing these relationships, don't we? It's not we make a single contact, we add them to our list, and then we invite them the next day. It doesn't work that way. We know that. So we know it's a process. If you wanted to send a copy of the book, I'm not sure if you've got how it works with the 4-year career, Mike, but I know it's always good if someone reads a book and they like it and you say, would you like to meet the author, or would you like to meet that guy that's in the book? That's kind of a cool experience. I would be happy if anyone wants the Kindle version of my book. If you've got people you wanted to send it out to, I'm not doing this as a money-making thing. I'll send you the Kindle version of the book if you wanted to send it out to people and say, have a read of this, tell me what you think. And that can be a tool as well. And then if you want to meet the author, we can set up, a group, we can pull people together and have a special.
That's amazing. By the way, that's the biggest idea I've heard so far on this call tonight. That's huge. There's a lot of people who are authors, and they gain these huge followings. And if you find out that they're doing a call or they're being invited to be a guest speaker on Oprah or whatever, there's a lot of people who plug in because they know they've read the book, they feel they know the author, they've connected to the storyline or whatever, and they want to hear from that person. So I think that's a huge possibility to be able to utilize the book because it's a good book, and to offer it to people and say, this is something that could really be transformative for you, and you may know people who need to benefit from this. I give out books all the time. I always buy books in bulk because if I'm going to read it, I'm going to give it out. And this is a great idea, Ben, because then you can host a call. How would you like to hear from the author? He's hosting a call, blah, blah, blah.
And that's just a nice lead-in to other things.
Perfect. It's perfect. And it's true for this as well. You guys can all use this book to help somebody get a better understanding of network marketing and say, how'd you like to meet one of the key people in the back of that book?
Yeah, that's cool. So maybe it's a two-punch approach, so to speak, or a two-pronged approach that, share the book, introduce the people in it, and go from there. Yeah, I think that could be really exciting.
Barb Satterwhite, you were.
Yeah, what I want to say is I laugh about it because we all know that we need to be used more for 3 ways. And we don't want people to think we're too busy, whatever. And honestly, I'm sitting here thinking what you just described, Ben, with all your requests now to speak and all of the things you have to do, Mike, all the things you're doing, I would even hesitate to invite you to, and up until now. I mean, I don't mean it negatively. I just mean we all are very sensitive to everybody's busyness. So I'm excited just to say, okay, yeah, I'm going to call you guys.
Good. Well, there is a familiar saying that we all know. If you want something doing, ask a busy person to do it. Yeah, we know that's true. And I think, yeah, I thrive on activity, you know, and, you know, it's great. Bring it on. Bring it on.
I love meeting new people. I love sharing my story. I love answering questions. That's the best part of this gig. And so bring it on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's grow this baby. 2021 is an important year for us. Let's make this thing, let's get a lead into 2021. What do you say?
I think so. And I'll just finish on this point, Mike, as my last comment. 2021 will require some further adaptation, I think. Yeah. Because we're still going through some transformation and transition with what 2020 has thrown at us. So it certainly isn't over yet, what we've been experiencing as a world environment. That being the case, we need to look at what we're doing and see how we can diversify, adapt, and respond and engage with people in a more meaningful way. And I think what Mike and I have shared tonight, I hope, is a way that can engage people in a more meaningful way, where they can connect and go, yeah, this is something that we can do some good with and have some fun with. And yeah, when it comes down to, I want to feel better, right? People want answers to that. They're willing to talk and have discussions. So we've got conversations to have 100%. And what a platform that we can share. This could be a lot of fun this year.
Absolutely. Fantastic. Well, Ben, thanks for taking the time tonight being on the call. This is the first time you've been on the Aligning with Success call.
First time speaking. I've been on. This is terrible. You're spanking me publicly.
I'm leveraging. No, I'm leveraging my upline right now.
Today. Yeah. I came when Sophie was a guest speaker. That is. But again, this is the power of some guest speakers, I guess. She did some good. But yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic. Thanks everybody for joining. Certainly share this recording. I think there's a lot of people who need to hear this message. We want to get the word out. Thanks, everybody.
Cheers. Take care, guys. Bye.
Thanks, Ben and Mike.